Okay, I'll just jump in and call to order the January 15th meeting of the Public Affairs Committee. And let me just start by, because it is a new year, this is a good time to recognize the incredibly hard work and conscientiousness of the staff and, the reports that we get every month here. Can't say enough about how comprehensive they are. And also thanks to the uh, citizen committees for all their work throughout the year. So thanks for that. And also then as a courtesy to the public, because I know it's been a major topic for a month now, we're going to jump ahead on the agenda to item 4A, old business, for the discussion on the proposal to insource the township tax collection beginning in 2026. And I think I'll turn it over to our board president for a comment on that.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I know this has been a topic of lots of discussion, and I know there are a number of people here tonight who are interested in this, and people who are interested who aren't here tonight. But I'd like to just start off by giving some context to the public as to the genesis of this tax office proposal. This board and this township, as some of you have heard me say, but I'll say it again, are facing significant fiscal challenges that must be addressed. Not should be addressed, must be addressed. And in that vein, we as a board have tasked staff with identifying areas where we can achieve efficiencies and cost savings. And this particular proposal was identified as one such area. Many of us have been in meetings and discussions with staff these past weeks, and they have put a lot of work into this proposal to show that it can work. And for that effort that staff has endeavored to do for the board and the community, I and my fellow commissioners are most grateful and most appreciative. And we strongly encourage staff to continue to provide us with these out of the box ideas and concepts to help put us on a more fiscally sound path forward. On this proposal, however, the practical and in some respects political realities that have come to bear dictate that we take a different path with this initiative, a pause, as it were. And therefore, while I personally support the ordinance, I don't think it is the time right now to move it forward. And so I am going to move on this item to table the ordinance seeking to abolish the tax office. So thank you for Commissioner Rappaport, Madam Chair, the courtesy of putting this up front, and for the courtesy of giving me the opportunity to make a motion to table this agenda item.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the table to table. Is there any discussion from my colleagues? I'll simply say that as one of the participants who was going to vote against it, I am still concerned about the possibility it could come back, which I don't favor. But I'll leave it at that, and there is a motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so item 4A to insource the tax collector has been tabled. Commissioner Zygmunt.
Yeah, Madam Chairperson, could I have a moment, if you'll indulge me, that goes on to the subject that we just voted on. I feel the need to clarify a comment I made at the December legislative session. I question the historical transparency of the tax office, which included the current office holder, Mark Lieberson. Over the last 3 years, Mark has dramatically improved the collection of certain taxes and has established a reporting routine that has expanded our working knowledge of their collection activities. And when I raised that subject in the meeting, within 36 hours, Mark had provided updated information which addressed some of the questions that I posed publicly. So I'd just like to make this comment. Our finance officer has brought improvements on behalf of our residents and taxpayers, sometimes at a cost of, receiving public pushback in his elective function. And Mark, personally, I'm sorry if my comments resulted in any unfavorable emails or phone calls, and you have my confidence that you are doing the job that you were elected to do. So I appreciate that. And I wanted to make sure that Mr. Lieberson, if you're not there, I will definitely call you again and just let you know that, some misinterpretations occurred. And I did not want you to feel like there was anything other than the appreciation for the work you've done. So thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Mr. Lieberson is in
Thank you.
attendance and he appreciates your comments,
Okay.
or heard your comments, I'll say.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll go on back to the regular agenda. There's still, going to be public citizens forum at the end. So those of you who might want to comment further on this will have your opportunity. Okay, item 1, receipt of reports from the month of December, the property maintenance, Parks and Rec, and public information. And again, thanks to Alan Brown, Bill Salvatore, and his team, Mr. Corby, Ms. Rebitz, Mr. Anderson, and to Lauren Walter. Great reports, thank you. Any comments? There's a wonderful family bingo game coming up this coming Friday at Glenside Hall at 7 o'clock. So don't forget to come to that if you're in the mood to try to win a prize. Okay. I'll take a motion to receive those reports.
So moved.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Item number 2, receipt of the committee meeting minutes. I think there was only the Civil Rights Task Force meeting. Any comments? Okay, I'll move acceptance. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There were no staff meeting minutes, although somewhere I read that there was one. There was no, let me just clarify, right? There was no staff meeting in December that had minutes.
That's correct. It was the week between Christmas and New Year, so we
Right.
canceled it for the month.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on. We dispensed of some of the old business in item 4. Is there any other old business? All right, item 5, new business. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize staff to issue a request for proposals to identify a qualified concessionaire to operate food and beverage concessions at the township pools. And the explanation for that was in our packets. Mr. Salvatore, maybe you'd like to make some further comments.
Yeah, so as I came late to the party last year, so to speak, the pool party, so to speak, the concession stand.
Oh no, we lost him.
You froze, Bill. You
Am I back?
froze.
I'm back.
You're back.
now. Okay.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better. Let's.
We'll just get rid of the camera. I'm not that good.
We'll
looking anymore.
remember what you look like
All
as
right.
you're speaking.
Yeah. So upon further review of the summer and knowing the amount of work that Kelly and I both put into the snack stands and trying to get them staffed up and getting things there, and then pulling the numbers that I did for that quick memo I put in for you, it just doesn't seem logical in a time where we're looking for cost savings and revenue generation to spend, upwards of $20,000 on additional staffing, have budget line items for the snack stand when we could perhaps lease the snack stands and, issue an RFP in such a fashion where, after a certain percentage of sales, we may get an additional kickback. So I think it's worth investigating it. There's no guarantee we're going to get any takers, but I do think that we have some infrastructure in place where you could do some light touch concessions, and maybe a concessionaire wants to come in and put a little bit more of an investment in. I'm not quite sure, but I do think it's worth the look.
Thank you. And the RFP could actually look for multiple concessionaires if we felt that, one or more, depending on if they want to be exclusive or not. It could be
Yeah, I mean,
in some flexible way.
The beauty of it is we can write the RFP any way we want. I do think that, I don't know if shared space is the way to go. There may be an RFP for Conklin, RFP for Glenside could work. But I think we need to, if once it's approved by the board, then we can move forward with what it looks like.
Okay,
Question, Madam
thank you.
Chairperson.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bill, based on your experience in Philadelphia, did you have any of those were outsourced, or was there in fact concessions at some of the various, parks, particularly the swimming pools and that kind of thing, or in the winter during the skating season, as well as all the different venues in Philadelphia that in fact have the potential to, attract crowds and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So believe it or not, food is not permitted on the pool decks or inside the pool gates in the city. So that was never an issue, but there are a number of examples of concessionaires in parks. Something as simple as the duck boats at FDR Park. They lease the space and we take a percentage of that. Cosmic Cafe down on Boathouse Row at Lloyd Hall is another example. I have a ton of experience with these RFPs and kind of what they look like. Something as small as you said, Commissioner, concessions at an ice rink. We've done that as well.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Norris.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Bill, I'd like to thank you for thinking of alternatives, thinking out of the box. Frankly, this is what we're asking from our staff in all of the departments, to rethink how our services are being provided to the township and whether we can methods or opportunities to both improve the services that we're providing and perhaps at a reduced cost. So I'm not sure how this is going to end up, but I thank you for considering it.
Yeah. And Commissioner, if I could add one more thing. There's always concern about young people and employment and jobs in the summer. And while this will take away some cashier positions, we're looking at possibly launching a second summer camp where we'll need counselors, but all that staffing costs will be covered by camp fees. So, it wouldn't be a situation where we'd have to take money out of the budget for it.
Right.
I want to make sure that everyone knows that teenagers will still be served with employment. That's the take-home message.
Thank you. And yeah, that is clear. Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll move that we go ahead with this recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. That passes. We'll move on to new business B, the update on Cheltenham celebration plans for the nation's semi-quincentennial, America 250. You guys are giving me practice with that term. Mr. Salvatore again.
You can just use semi-quin and make it much easier on you, Commissioner.
How do you want to
Just say semi-quin. You don't have to go into quincentennial.
All right,
Semi-quin,
great.
just yeah.
Thank you.
That's what we're using it in the biz. So you can
Much better. Yeah, I don't have to work out so much. Yeah.
Talk about finding efficiencies.
Yeah.
Now you can be hip. Say there you go. Hipper, I
She
should say.
isn't hip. Come on.
Yeah, right.
So we convened two working groups. One was internal. It's my staff at Parks and Rec, as well as Lauren Walter and Megan Hart to come up with, a plan for Cheltenham 250. We engaged a number of partners across the township, from various sectors, historical, religious, etc. And in thinking it through, we really wanted to highlight what makes Cheltenham special, which to us were three buckets. Number one was the history. Number two was the architecture. And number three were our fabulous green spaces. So what we settled on is a passport idea where we'll do a different special event every month in the year 2026. Some partnered, some township led, some old favorites like Arbor Day, and some new ones. And I'll just share a few without going through the whole list because we're going to vet the calendar with the partners on Friday. But Commissioner Cherico had the idea to have a Founders Day event. So we're going to launch that. That'll be a March themed event. Commissioner Zingmanfeld.
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes. Well, no, I got to give you credit first before you ask your question.
Oh, go ahead.
We're going to attempt to do a battle of the breweries in the summer of 26, where we're going to challenge the local breweries inside of Cheltenham to create a Cheltenham 250 themed beer. And then whoever wants to be a judge can come to the event and judge the grand winner.
I'm not sure I deserve credit for that. I think it may have come from another commissioner, but anytime I can get credit. But I do have a question for you.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think one of the things we should do, I know that at last year's State Association of Commissioners, there was a discussion about trying to do some localized promotions to support some of the things that we do, and there's some money available. I'd like to propose that maybe one of the things we do is that we do some things related to Camp William Penn and the idea of trying to continue to focus on both the legacy and the history in Lamont, and that has obviously a tie-in to America 250. So I'd like to propose that I'll make the effort to both talk to the people who I met with at the America 250 thing, and then try and see if there's something we could do in orchestration with the Lamont Citizens United and with the Camp William Penn, even in advance of their annual event. I think because that could be a drawing card in particular for people, in this region, and drawing from those who are interested in history and the African American community in Philadelphia and the suburbs. I think it would be a worthwhile thing. So I think we should at least make an effort, and I'll look to see if we could secure some funds from outside sources just to help to fund something of that nature.
Great. So good news, they are on the working group and they're part of the conversation. So that's underway. But we'll look to expand upon it. And then you'll also be glad to know that Megan Hart is hard at work hunting some grants around America 250 and our concept of Cheltenham 250.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. So that was an update. Anything else from my colleagues? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. It's exciting, and we're gonna be watching for more. Okay, 6. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners, 5C. And forgive me, I know my voice is off. I have a rotten cold, so excuse me. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award a contract for branding services with Bellwether Agency in the amount of $23,000 for the design of a brand identity, including logo, tagline, color palette, and typography, contingent on review by the township solicitor. And he did apparently look at the contract that was a late addition to the materials. And so here it is. Ms. Walter, are you the one who wants to introduce Ms. Lesser? How do you want to proceed?
Sure. As we discussed during the budget meetings, we would like to form a cohesive identity around Cheltenham because we have a lot of great things going on between our new Parks and Rec offerings, our America 250 celebration, our facilities, And we want to be able to bring that together in one identity. Over the years, we've had a couple crop up for different things. And Bellwether is a partly local agency that is going to help us do that. So one of the partners, Miss Emily Lassard, is on this meeting if you have distinct questions about the process.
Thank you. Ms. Lassard, do you want to begin or do you just want to answer questions?
Thank you so much, first of all, for the time. It's lovely to be with you all and to see some friends and neighbors on Zoom tonight. I know you've all had a very long evening already, so I'm here to answer questions.
All right, well, thank you. And I think one of my colleagues reminded me that you may have made a presentation to the Economic Development Task Force at one point a number of years ago.
Yes, when I first moved here, I've always been very excited to help promote the community and do it in a really community forward way. So happy that you remember it and happy to be back.
Can you clarify the deliverables of the 23,000? As I understood the contract, it was basically a logo, a tagline, a color, and a font.
Yes, and within all of those elements is a system. So if we think of those as the ingredients, we consider the brand identity to be the recipe. How do we bring those together to create a holistic system that is both engaging as well as accessible? And you'll see my 11-year-old wanting to hang out with us in the background. So for us, really, as Bellwether, as your partners, what we really want to do is create a system that can really grow and expand across mediums. As we all know today, one of the challenges and opportunities with a brand is for it to show up well on both a website, social media, in person, and all of the great events that we've talked about this evening. So our agency is really skilled in putting those elements together, color, typography, fonts, logo, in order to ensure that the brand is cohesive, yet not burdensome to the stakeholders that we're engaged with.
Okay, a couple of things disturbed me, frankly, about this appearing on our agenda tonight. And partly because I'm not feeling well, I'm just going to be real blunt. First of all, I'm not quite sure why your firm was picked. I mean, it's nice that it's local. It's nice that some of us remember positively a presentation, but we have a lot. Just going to be very candid. We have tremendous talent in our township. We have artists. We have people who work in agencies. We have experienced people, and we have people who've lived here for their lifetimes. So I don't see as a deliverable any engagement that's extra. The photography is extra. It felt like a campaign is extra. And I'm just not sure. And I say this to our staff as well. I do not understand why we wouldn't start with public engagement, reaching out,
Madam Chair,
if not a contest or some kind of to get from our talent whatever they have to offer and share as a starting point.
I'm happy
Madam
to answer
Chair,
that, Lauren, after, sorry.
it's okay. I just wanted to address how we got to this point, and then Emily, I'm happy to welcome your feedback as well.
Thank you.
While recognizing the incredible talent that we do have in this community, we did know of Bellwether and what they offer, and that branding is very distinct. Their service that they offer, the whole realm of what that encompasses, not just art and not just graphic design. And I did speak to the communications and public information personnel in other townships to ask what they were doing and how they've gone through this process. So what I brought to you at the budget meeting was that as far as community engagement for this project, we will use for cost savings the feedback gotten from our residents through the comprehensive planning process. I did speak with the solicitor about this project being professional services, and therefore was able to have a conversation with Bellwether about whether they would be comfortable and what the project would look like in their hands.
And Anne, may I just introduce my agency? I'm one of the owners and one of the founders. We're 9 years old. Our specialty is place branding. We have created brands for New York City, Baltimore, Provincetown, Breckenridge, Danville, Napa Valley, and Halifax, Canada was our most recent one. It is our specialty. We have been awarded at a national level for doing this work. The campaigns we do, my day job at Bellwether is mostly doing campaigns on the national level, including the 988 suicide hotline, all of NYC Votes, Metro Plus Health, and several other large-scale clients that I'm NDA'd and I can't talk about. So, but our agency's specialty is place branding. We're able to offer our services for $23,000 which is an enormously reduced rate for our agency. I know this is recorded, so I don't want other organizations and other places to think that the rate that we have here in this contract is what our normal rate is. We're able to offer this extreme discount of our services. Our team is 32, including copywriters, designers, project managers. And our specialty, as I said, is place branding, but also doing it in a very inclusive way. I think what we bring to the table is not only our experience, but a deep respect for community engagement and research. And as Lauren said, there's so much that this group and this community has already done for research. And we also know as an agency, there can be research fatigue. Sometimes when there's another survey and another focus group and another, and I just know from living within the community, we've already had a lot of that in the past several years. So knowing you have a deep bench of experience, knowing the lived experience that as a leader and an owner of an agency I can bring to the table, and our expertise. I'm happy to kind of answer questions, but I hope that helps introduce the kind of value that Bellwether brings to the table.
And thank you for that. I have one more question, and then I know other people want to crack at a comment or so. You're a young, fairly young and experienced corporation or company. Why did you pick Bellwether? Why did you spell it that way? I'm curious because if you go online, there are a lot of Bellwethers, and most of them are spelled like Bellwether is actually spelled. So tell me a little bit about your story that way.
Sure. My daughter was just here when I founded the agency with Louis Lees, one of the founding partners. I'm the chief strategy officer. He's our chief creative officer. My daughter was singing Jingle Bells. We were in the Holland Tunnel in between New York City and New Jersey. Since we knew we wanted to specialize in place branding, the word jingle and bells kind of brought up Bellwether. We chose the name because it was a URL decision. We wanted to kind of have the digital presence that we know a marketing agency requires. And so we changed the name with the meaning behind Bellwether. Weather is always changing. And just like the pivoting we all require for rain or snow, Bellwether's here to shift and to not be so mired in our stuck ways. So that's where it comes from.
And it doesn't bother you that there are an awful lot of other Bellwethers. I mean, if I'm looking to be branded, I'm not sure I'd want to be one of a crowd.
I'll take that into consideration and for my next business.
Thank you. Let me see, Commissioner Chirka, go ahead.
Hey, Emily, very good seeing you again. I saw you at the EDTF meeting. It seemed like a century ago, but thank you so much for coming back and offering your services to the township. As a real estate agent and someone who has had a 25-year career in television, I understand the importance of branding of this important of what we're doing here. So I really appreciate the expertise that you bring to the township. I guess I have a couple questions. One of them first. I know you say you're pulling from, I guess, past information that we may have from residents. Is that what this is mostly this data that we're pulling from? Is that coming from residents who have been surveyed before? Is that what you're going to be using?
Lauren will know
We-
the nomenclature.
Yes,
Okay.
we have the survey data from the written survey for the comp plan that was done in either 2021 or 2022, as well as what was collected at this past year's comp plan open house. And I'll be working with Megan Hart to get all the information that was possibly gathered as part of this process, since we did engage the public on that, and we will be working from there.
Okay. And I believe this is important that we do this. And so I want to set that out first, that I do think having a branding is important. My question though is that enough? The data that we have from the residents from these experiences, is that enough? Because I think as a real estate agent who sells Cheltenham Township to people, I do hear from people who are adjacent, who are outside Cheltenham Township, who have a vision and not always a positive one about our township. And so I want to make sure that what we're doing is not in a vacuum. It is not just based on what the residents feel, but that we have a brand that helps to tell our story and take away from other people outside our community to change that narrative, right? There's a narrative out there that I don't agree with, but there is one. And I want to be sure that in any direction that we go down, that we're aware of that, and that we work to take back that story and own it and be very deliberate about that. And I don't know that that's done with a logo necessarily, but perhaps you can talk to that, and perhaps how do we take that into consideration when creating a logo and all that?
One thing, Emily, before I hand that back to you, I appreciate that feedback, and I'm glad to have you be part of helping capture that narrative. When I first met with Emily about this project, she actually already had some ideas that I thought were great, that she's keyed in and she's paying attention, because to me, I want to capture the history of Cheltenham that we really should be proud of, and all of the aspects. So we will, as far as the residents feedback, that is where using that survey data already collected comes in, but that is going to be combined with discussions and digging in to what is the story of Cheltenham, what was it years ago, where are we going, and how do we merge those two. But Emily, your expertise?
I think we all agree that, place brands, when done well, can do many things at the same time very well. From Bellwether's perspective, we really want to ensure that the place brands we deliver are really doing three things. First and foremost, and I know I'm going to start with this because y'all have talked about it, efficiency and saving money. So we want to make sure that the tools we give to our partners are going to make your jobs easier and not harder. The second thing that's really important to us is building trust, ensuring that the logo and any taglines we create really create positive feelings of trust from both, exactly like you said, Jeff, from both the external point of view, from those residents who are looking and evaluating the community, business owners who are evaluating the community. We want them to feel trust when they see the brand and the tagline and engage with it, but also trust with the residents and the people who live and work here too. So knowing, I think what Bellwether's really known for is creating things that feel like they've been there all along, because we do our due diligence with both listening to residents and stakeholders and looking at the content that's been there, whether it's the design or architecture or an oak leaf. And finally, the most important thing perhaps for economic development is pride. And we all know the Cheltenham bumper stickers that we see on so many cars, which have these fantastic adjectives on them. I think what Bellwether would be thrilled to do is to put all of this in a blender, and particularly build on those adjectives on that bumper sticker, which as a design professional, I believe all of you also have eyeballs. That bumper sticker has a lot of great ideas, but typographically speaking, I think we can do better. So there's a lot in the community that we can bring together and then create this tool set. I will say that larger things like campaigns, signage, a lot of the events that have been spoken about in this meeting, that's going to take more time, and that's going to take more budget, and that's going to take more buy-in and more stakeholders. What Bellwether can offer is kind of bringing together the existing work and our own lived experience, my own, and create just sort of a foundation that can be built upon, but is in no way a replacement for all those other very important steps and all those other important pieces.
And the final question I had was, I think you just spoke to about the application of this, whether it be signs in the township or whatever, however we plan to use this. Is there a guidebook that is provided of some sort for the township to be able to use these resources effectively, without necessarily coming up with a new contract and spending tens of thousands of dollars additionally for a campaign or for campaigns?
Absolutely. That's included in our deliverables. To go back into your very first question, a brand identity guide, which is exactly what you just described, is included within our scope.
And a brand identity guide, is that meaning how the fonts should be used and the logo should be used, or how it should be used and in what context and when?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Think of it like a recipe book, guidelines for please do this, please don't do this, and examples of how to put those ingredients together.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sigmund-Feld.
Thank you. Emily, I don't want to traipse on professional reputations. I spent 40 years as a marketing and advertising executive, worked in New York for 80% of that time, and commuted from wonderful Elkins Park into New York. So I appreciate both the discipline and the structure in this. I have two, I guess, concerns or questions. The first is, and this is more to Lauren than to you, Lauren, in the course of trying to do some of these things, beyond the idea of creating a Cheltenham brand, the fact is that a public relations campaign would also serve some of the same benefits, and some of the efforts that we could do would probably create free media. And also, I think there could be a more modest undertaking here rather than, a full branding undertaking. And I appreciate, I can tell you right now, the price here is extremely attractive. It is very reasonable. I worked on many campaigns, and so 6 and 7 figures is what you can get. And I'm sure you've had that experience. The other thing is, in the course of us expressing our concerns about fiscal accountability and that kind of thing, and Lauren, please don't take this badly, I just think, we have to have really close handle on investing any kinds of dollars on things that are not in the highest stage of priority for the things that we're doing for our residents, taxpayers, businesses, and for some of the functions that are going to help to improve, I guess, both to Jeff's point, the awareness, the image, et cetera. And I'm not sure whether a branding undertaking is the right first tactic for the township to do. So I think it's a mix of both a concern. I can tell you that if we looked at some of the other projects that we've done with our, say, architects or whatever, this is not is in spite of its low, very economic offering, it's not one, a low cost element to the municipality at a time when we're trying to hold on to funding or put funding into things that are higher priority. So Emily, I do respect and appreciate this. I just saw it. I see the structure, the discipline, and I see the effort that's being done to support the township. And as a resident, value that you want to do that. I don't know whether this is the right time and the right approach to undertake something like this. So I'm not firing a torpedo as much as saying, it may be needed a little more discussion with the board or a little more discussion with some of us who are, in the know to help to guide it in a fashion rather than just relying on a resident with great experience and credentials. But still, I think, I don't know if the branding undertaking is a right focus for even $23,000 of our taxpayer funding.
Commissioner, with due respect, I think when you said a public relations campaign, the first thing that comes to my mind is branding, that you can't do a campaign without a brand. I also think it will create efficiencies staff-wise, where we'll have it be the letterhead, the flyers, all of the small things that funnel through my desk. And I work with other departments back and forth. It will become more cohesive and it's just, this is Cheltenham, this is how we do it. That's what that branding guide is for. And finally, something that Emily touched on earlier, which is trust. When we are moving forward and we're trying to create more economic opportunities in Cheltenham, attract residents to Cheltenham for what we're offering, we need to have that built. So I think this is a very important foundation. And I do appreciate the price that Bellwether is willing to work on with us.
As do I. And I appreciate your counseling me from your perspective. And you know that I respect all that you've been doing. So this is not taking, and being critical of the significance of what you've done in your role. So thank you for that. And Emily, thank you. And appreciate that you're making an effort, and also to some degree an economic sacrifice in what would normally be a much more expensive undertaking. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Arman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate Ms. Walter and Ms. Lassard's presentations. Look, this is an important issue in a larger context, right? I mean, we are always talking about marketing our township, presenting our township, both in a professional sense, in a community sense, and this endeavor here is a economically modest, but perhaps impactful first step, right? We are not in a position to spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on a marketing campaign, but we are in a position to take the first step with a community resident who is giving us an economic break on her expertise and her team's expertise, and allowing us to get started. And getting started is important in any marketing campaign, in any effort to fulfill the messaging and the professionalism. Lauren talked about consistency in our materials that go out and our website. All of these are an important first step, and I think to take a negative approach to this first step for such a modest fee, I think would be personally a mistake. So for those reasons, I think we should move forward with this project, and we come out of it with something, right? We come out of it with a brand. We come out of it with a roadmap on how to use that brand. If we decide at some point that we want to take it further, then we could have further discussions. But this is simply the first step in a much larger context, and I think it's a worthwhile first step to take. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And
you're-
you're on mute.
You're muted.
I think you're calling on me though. But...
Thank you. I'm on mute.
All right.
I figure you don't want to hear my coughing.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. So I just briefly, I wish to echo what Commissioner Arman was just stating. I'd also just add the presentation made tonight was well done, but I wish to add that Laura and Walter made this presentation a couple of months ago during the budget process. So it's not the first time we're hearing it, and she made a compelling argument at that time, and that's why funds were put in the budget exactly for this purpose. And we don't have a lot of, we don't have any excess dollars to spend, but this is a modest amount. And of course, putting it in the budget doesn't mean that we have to move forward on it. It doesn't mean we have to vote in favor of it tonight. But I for one, am in agreement with Commissioner Arman's comments and in support of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask Lauren, Ms. Walter, if you don't mind. I know that you referred to the professional services contract. So for some of us, we understand the implication of that for an RFP or for, you know, some other more formal selection of someone to work with. Would you just clarify for the public why you all chose to go the direction you did, and yeah, how they came to your attention and stuff like that?
After speaking with other communications departments, there wasn't really a cohesive path that jumped out to me. And I did know of Bellwether. We had an initial conversation, and I wish I had a better, more clarity to offer you, but my decision was guided by the solicitor on how we had to approach this, and I was not aware of any other organizations that had this tie to Cheltenham and such a passionate lens to bring to this project. So there really hadn't been another angle on my mind.
Okay, and the solicitor indicated that it doesn't have to go out to bid or anything like that because of the threshold for the amount of money. And yeah, I wanted public clarification of that. So
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take a motion if there's no further discussion or questions. I'll take a motion to recommend this for next week.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. I will simply say that, yeah, I raised a number of concerns. You know, clearly, you know, $23,000 will buy 7 sets of speed bumps, but I'm going along with this because I'd like to see the product and see if it serves our needs. So thank you very much, and we'll move on to the next item, which is 5D. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners appoint the following members to the Township Citizens Committees at the January 22nd Board of Commissioners meeting next week. Alicia Kinchlow of Elkins Park to be a member of the Library Board. Linda Frymark of Elkins Park to be a voting member on the EAC, the Environmental Advisory Council. And I think some of you, if not all of you, are with us tonight. So
may acknowledge themselves.
Yeah, you just go ahead and raise a hand and show your face if you wish. I can't really see if people are doing that, but in addition, Adam Rybel-Bliss of Wincote to be on the Planning Commission. These are all voting positions. Donna Andrews of Cheltenham to be a voting member of the Board of Historical Architectural Review, that's the BAHAR, and David Guest of Elkins Park to be a member of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. And we're grateful to all of you for coming forward, volunteer for these positions. And resumes look great. Any of my colleagues want to make a comment?
Alicia, thank you for attending. I'm not sure if others are in attendance, but I want to point out she's here.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll go ahead and move their recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you again for volunteering. We now have Citizens Forum for Public Affairs. Okay, and we have a bunch of citizens. Mr. Lieberson, go right ahead.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Sure
Yes.
can.
I got one question and two comments. The question is, can someone tell me what is a pause? I know what a pause is by definition, but my concern is that something that theoretically could be brought up next week, next month, or are we certainly going to be able to be comfortable and going through the normal electoral process of getting my successor elected?
And
So
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
go.
going to ask our president to weigh in on that.
Yeah, so Mr. Lieberson, thank you for the question. The answer is we can't bind the board from ever bringing an issue back up again, whether it's this or something else. So the answer is it is tabled, and could it come back up again? Sure, but I don't anticipate that that's going to be the case anytime soon.
I mean, I had this statement all set up. I want to know if I can tear it up and throw it away or put it in a folder.
Or read it now?
No, we don't,
Okay.
we don't have to.
Yeah,
Matt-
sorry, I can't give you more clarity, but
No.
look, boards change, so and viewpoints change, so I can't make any promises one way or the other. But for now, it's not going to be addressed by the board.
Do me a favor. If the viewpoints start to change, can we get some advance notice about this?
The answer is, well, you've had lots of notice on this one, so
Well,
and certainly plenty of weigh in. But yes, we will.
Could I say something real quick? I don't think there's a ton of appetite for taking it further, so I would not anticipate that at any time, soon, unless something drastic happens, that there's going to be a sea shift in the appetite for it. So,
on the same note, my second comment is in a more positive thing. Not that isn't positive. That I like to be optimistic, and my goal is that whoever succeeds me through the normal electoral process, one, I plan on, and I publicly now will commit myself to this, I plan on working with that person the day after election day towards a seamless transition, going from my administration to whoever succeeds me. And being optimistic, I'm hoping, and I really project that whoever succeeds me will not only be as good as me, but even perhaps better. Okay, and that's what I want to point out. So I am committed to working on that aspect come next November, December, and into January. On the other side, I shouldn't be smiling when I say this, but I will. I think I'm going to be the Grim Reaper, but unlike last year, the tax bills will probably be going out by the end of next week, as well as the business privilege 511 taxes returns. We're right on schedule, unless something unforeseen happens. If not, certainly the week after. So we're in a much better position than we were last year at this time. So thanks, guys.
Commissioner Rappaport, just a
Thank
quick
you.
comment to
Sure,
that.
go ahead.
Mark, thank you for that commitment for a smooth transition, and thank you for your service in advance of the end of the year.
You're not getting rid of me this fast, Dan.
That's why I'm saying it. I know you have 10, 11 more months to go, but I'm thanking you now.
Okay.
And thanks from all of us. Yeah. Okay, Ms. Melton, go ahead.
Good evening again. Happy New Year's to all that wasn't at the first meeting. Thank you for all the conversation about the finance officer, because I think you answered all my questions. My other two comments, one about the branding of Cheltenham. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by branding. However, let me say this as a resident. somebody. Let me say this first as a resident. I know where I live at. I'm proud of where I live at. I believe sometimes the best advertisement you can give is word of mouth. And who usually gives word of mouth better than women? No offense to y'all guys. So when somebody asks me why I like living in Cheltenham, I can tell them the advantages. I can tell them why. Okay. Not going through all of it, but it's all positive. To spend $23,000, I understand it's a business, you're trying to get out there, you want more people to move in, but that's what we have realtors for. That's why we have, again, our friends and family to tell where we're at. $23,000 in my mind, as a resident, I need other things. I need some of the furniture that they said that might be needed for the community centers. I need maybe some better books or more books or things in our schools. I might need another safety on the corner to watch our children. I need other things that I think $23,000 we could get that would be more beneficial than someone saying, hi, look, we're Cheltenham, here we are. Okay, but again, that's my opinion as a resident. My last comment is to the commissioners. If Bill is still online, I'm part of the Historical Commission, a member of the Historical Commission, along with another. And in my going through all the paperwork I have here, decluttering, I did find a flyer from Cheltenham's Centennial. I have shared it via email through the meeting. You probably you'll have it by now, because it gives an idea of one of the events that they decided to have. Again, it's just a suggestion. I don't know how successful it was at the time, but it did tours and it actually also raised funds. So again, just letting you know that I sent that to email to the commissioners and the Historical Commission chair, along with Megan and Bill and Kelly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That'll be useful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's nice. And thanks for your remarks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Any other input for Citizens Forum for Public Affairs? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'll call for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
night.